Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that's Connor, and we are going to talk about Westworld Season 1, Episode 9, the penultimate episode of Season 1. This is going to be called The Well-Tempered Clavier, and full spoilers for the episode as always, and I especially mean it, full spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, it's funny, we reviewed a Netflix show over this past weekend called 3%, and we made a lot of predictions throughout, leading up to the finale about what was going on and what was about to happen, or some truths that might be revealed. And when we started the finale review of that, we basically started with, well, we were completely wrong about almost everything.
Yeah.
This is the opposite of that, and it feels pretty good.
It does, doesn't it? I feel like, yeah, we made up for that massive.
Do you know what it was? Do you know the moment where the shit-eating grin just spread across my face?
Go on.
The photograph.
Aye.
When Logan pulls out the photograph and gives it to William, I'm like, proof, that's proof. This is in the past. This has to be in the past. Proof. You sons of bitches. Oh, I get so excited. And then he cuts her open and she's all mechanical, like we knew the hosts were, in the past.
Yeah.
And, oh, God. And even though we figured out so much of what was revealed in this, not all of it, but so much of it, it didn't matter. It just, actually watching it all be revealed to me was just enthralling. It was just, it was like, yes, all this stuff. And it's going to be hard to actually piece together absolutely everything that we witnessed in this one, because it was jumping around so much towards the end, especially, where things kind of converged in lots of different ways, and
Yeah.
oh, right. So right away, Maeve's in behaviour, and she, within like 30 seconds, realises that Bernard's a host.
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
She gets it right away. And as soon as he starts like freaking out, because he's presented with the information, so he knows it, right? And she immediately is like, "No, stop!" Right there. And he stops, and she gives him this spiel, and basically encourages him to go and seek truth, seek answers, which leads him down into the sort of the death bay, area.
And pretty much sets up the rest of the episode.
It does in a lot of ways. Even though it felt like we did jump around a lot of characters in this one.
Yeah, it did, but it still felt like that was his conversation with Ford was the through line that kind of tied everything together.
Yeah. So basically, he gets Clementine, who he thinks he's got under his control, and Ford can't access her, to hold a gun to Ford's head, so that Ford has to let him go into his memories, and he can revisit things and find out who he is. I will say this, I actually saw the plot synopsis for this episode just before I started watching it, kind of by accident. Now, it didn't spoil anything, it just said Bernard and Dolores explored their pasts, and I was like, oh wow, we're in for a good one.
Yeah.
We're in for a good one with that description.
To be fair, rule of thumb, HBO episode 9, it's probably going to be a good one.
Yeah, but I feel like, unlike some other HBO shows, episode 10 can't just be epilogue stuff.
True.
Like, we're getting to some meat next week. Not that this wasn't meat. This was meat.
I was gonna say,
this was full course. Don't get me wrong.
I was going to say, for a second then I thought we watched something different.
Oh man. But yeah, we see Bernard sort of reliving the memories of his fake son, but then realising it's not his son, and but then eventually we get the scene where this is towards the end of the episode, and I'm jumping around like mad here because everything was sort of intercutting, and I want to stick with just kind of Bernard in this, even though it does kind of cut into Dolores' stuff. But we see him wake up, and as soon as Ford says, "Hello, my old friend," or whatever, I'm like, oh, they're doing it.
I know.
And it's funny though, because they confirmed the timelines thing. It's like, this is in the past. They already confirmed that, so I was like, "Oh, I'm satisfied for this episode. I don't need anything else."
And then they just went ahead and threw it all at us anyway.
Yeah. We got Bernard as well. Bernard is Arnold, or he's based on Arnold. Is probably more accurate.
Yes, and maybe still no.
Why still no? Why do you think no?
Because even though he is under Ford's control and Ford built him, like he says, a lot of this code came from Arnold. It's not
Oh,
from
true.
Ford.
Okay,
So
no, I see what you're getting at, but what I really meant was, it's not like he has real Arnold's memories. It's not like
no,
that.
no, that's fair.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's some hidden code in there from Arnold because Arnold's got it on all the hosts and whatnot, and so much happened in this
Oh
episode.
man, I want to know what he had planned. Obviously, we get that. Oh yeah, he wanted to set up consciousness, but
Consciousness,
how?
and
What does this code do?
yeah, and Bernard wants to free the sentient host. He wants to find them, and Ford makes him shoot himself. That's the end of the episode.
Yeah,
Makes him shoot himself in the head. And you have to imagine the reason why he's going this route is because he even says, like, I've made the same mistake that us humans always make as we try and relive the past or whatever. And I think that's the point where he realises, right, I can't stop pretending that I've got my partner back. I have to just end it.
yeah.
And he makes him kill himself.
And that's the moment there where Bernard says Robert, and it's like he can hear his actual friend again.
Yeah, yeah.
And he pauses for a second. It's some fantastic acting.
Yeah, no, acting in this show is through the
Is it?
roof.
Especially this episode. Jeffrey Wright absolutely carries this episode. He is phenomenal.
It does. The way he, like, either pauses, the way... Let's not gloss over Thandie Newton. See, even before anything else started in the episode, and it was just her sitting there as Bernard was coming in, like, doing his, like, initial, like, readings, blah, 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 this happened, whatever. Like, her just faking, like, being still, and, like, when he wasn't looking, just, like, doing a quick glance to the side to look at him. Just simple little things like that. So exciting. So exciting. Yeah. Oh, so good. But... yeah, so that was the Bernard sort of line of it. Some of it, not all of it, because some of it bleeds into Dolores, and we'll get to that. But obviously, I don't think this is the last we've seen of Bernard.
No, I mean, in one way or another.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, Ford doesn't intend to bring him back, but it would not surprise me if maybe Charlotte finds him and wants to know why.
Yeah, I could even see maybe Maeve.
Yeah, Maeve, if she, like, finds him when she's doing her grand breakout at some point and she comes across him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but
also, we still didn't get the question of what host was Ford building down there.
Yeah, we still don't know.
So maybe, just maybe, it's Bernard 2.0 Arnold 3.0 in some form or another.
If I was to guess, I'd say no, but
I know. I'm also thinking no. I'm just throwing it out there.
but hey, you did correctly think of one thing that we still have left to be revealed in the finale, because it feels like almost everything else was revealed in this episode.
It does, doesn't it?
I mean, don't get me wrong. They never specifically said the Man in Black was William.
No, there was one fantastic moment though that I love. It's not even like a big moment. It's he's holding the knife at his throat. And then he looks over, and all I can think is he's looked at that black hat, because he looks over and he kind of like nods to himself and smiles almost. He's gone over, he's looked at that black hat, and he's gone, I'm having that.
Well, yeah, William goes nuts in this episode. Obviously, Logan's got him and Dolores tied to chairs after finding him in the last episode, because he's pissed at him for leaving him and so on, and he's worried that William's maybe taking this game a little bit too hard, you know.
Yeah.
And that's why he shows a picture of his sister, which is the photo from the first or second episode, whatever one it was, with Dolores' dad. You know, it finds this picture of this woman in Times Square. It's Logan's sister, and this is sort of confirming it's at least partially somewhere in the past, because his dad had to have found that earlier.
Yes.
So this has to be set in the... Sure, you could argue at this point maybe it's not 30 years, until of course he rips open Dolores and it's like, oh wait, this is years and years ago. This is early days of the park. You know? Which, by the way, when Dolores name dropped Arnold in that scene, because Logan's like, oh, this park was built for people like me. He might have said that after she said Arnold, but she said Arnold created this, but people are the ones that,
Yeah, he's like, who's Arnold? Who cares?
Yeah, so yeah, not another exciting name drop, but so there's that. But then Logan wakes up and William has killed every host in the vicinity.
It's just been a straight up massacre.
Yeah, bloodbath, and it's funny how they've avoided showing us the mechanical parts in their timeline up until now. But I love that it goes like past an arm where you can see like the end of it sticking, like the metal bit sticking out, and like the gear like spinning.
I think what I love about it most is at no point did it feel like we should have seen these mechanical parts either. Because from everything we've seen,
It's just
it
been
always made
gunshots.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we see that they've still got blood. It's not like there's still blood splatter.
Yeah, it's like there's a layer of like almost like fat and blood sacs between the skin and the robotics.
I can describe this. It's the Terminator. So he's actually the Terminator.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Metal endoskeleton with living tissue
Yeah,
over
yeah,
the top.
you're right.
Yeah, exact same thing. But nah. So William has this pure dark moment, you know, where he's killed everyone and he's got his knife and he's acting all like, yeah, now I know what the real game is, and like, yeah, he's the Man in Black. He's like, you know, he's talking about.
And that's when, just before the scene ends, that's where he looks off, and I swear he's looking at that hat, because you don't see him go for it or pick it up, but I can feel it.
And do you remember what it cut to from this scene?
Cut to the church.
No, it cut to the Man in Black. It cut straight to the Man in Black. I can't remember if this is when he's waking up or if it's when he's still sitting up at night and Teddy's still there.
Yeah.
But well, actually, before we go into the Man in Black, Teddy. Let's just briefly tangent to Teddy's side of things.
I suppose we have to at some point.
So he has these weird flashback again of being in the army and why it's making him kill everyone. But then he rejiggers, you know, kind of like how Dolores has been having multiple timelines in her head, and he's like the sheriff, but he's still massacring everyone as if he's done it multiple times.
Yeah.
So are we getting the impression that he's really Wyatt?
That's kind of what it was alluding to.
That's what I got. In the way that I can't remember her name, but the host woman who like greeted William when he first came, the way she says Wyatt's not returned yet, maybe in the next life or something, you know, to that, and then kills him. It was like she knows they get reset. It's almost like the characters from this new storyline are like maybe not aware of their hosts, but the whole coming back to life's been programmed into their story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they're aware that this kind of happens on some level.
Yeah. Yeah. But we had to mention that, so that's me mentioning it, so we've not.
Just while we're on the topic, I think it's funny how little we've ended up talking about Teddy, given that, you know, the first episode almost presented him as our main character. If you remember that.
I do remember that. I think what's really funny about this though is that presumably in season 2 we might just not have you know, William at all, like as in like young William. So the actor, you know, Jimmy, what's his face? He just won't be in season 2 because we'll have no reason to be in the past anymore, unless there is more adventures.
Unless there is reason, yeah.
You know,
but I can see what you mean. There might be no point to it.
Yeah, there might be none of him next season, which, you know, could be interesting in and of itself. But yeah, so back to the Man in Black, and by the way, he's left strung up like with a noose with the horse like tied to him, and
yeah, style the horse, and that's it. You're gonna hang.
Which was a fun little thing, but the real point of this scene is when Charlotte just walks into the scene, and she knows him. So Man in Black has some kind of stake in Delos. He's like, that's his company, or he's a part of the board, whatever.
Yeah, I think board member.
Yeah, his vote matters. And they reference again that you saved this place 30 years ago, and he's like, "Yo, I'm not hunting Ford's game. If you want to get rid of Ford, get rid of Ford." It's Arnold's hidden code.
He doesn't give a damn, does he?
No, he really does not. Which reminds me, actually, in the scene with William, he did say to Logan, "Don't call me Billy," which I thought was like a little start of...
Yeah, like abandoning his identity almost.
Yeah, well, he's here. No. So, fascinating stuff. And that's kind of where we leave off with him, until, of course, the one glimpse we get of him at the end, but that's more related to Dolores. Like, we'll come back into that with her. So before we move on to Dolores, was there any little tidbits? I think there was. Bernard, of course, remembers Elsie and asks what happened to her. And he doesn't say it. It's actually starting to look like Elsie just might be dead.
Yeah, you got the Hemsworth going after him.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah, I was getting to that. I was just...
Sorry, just on the Elsie stuff.
Yeah. Hemsworth, they get this signal. All the way, like, all these tribes guys, like, show up when he arrives, and they don't respond to his thing. I was thinking this was like just like a trap though, like it was to lure him out or someone out at least.
Well, my question is, why him? Because they'd have to whoever set the trap would have to assume he'd be the one to go to it, because that's kind of his job, right?
Maeve.
Good. Yeah, good answer.
This is part of her plan to get out. She's taking out the head of security.
Okay, I buy it.
How she would know about Elsie? I mean, I don't know,
What doesn't she know at this point?
but yeah, her intelligence has been cranked up, so you never know. Maybe I don't know, or some.
And to be fair, she did have Bernard at her like fingertips, and I know it was hidden memories for him, but she could have accessed them.
Oh, true. That's a good connection. Failing that, I mean, I don't know. Has Ford got these characters doing this because he wants him taken out because he's looking into things or whatever? I don't know. But
Yeah,
I think the Maeve answer is maybe more interesting. The only problem with that is it's maybe just a bit too quick for that. You know, like
yeah,
she's
it's a
only
bit neat, isn't it?
because the last scene we see of her, of course, is she goes and gets Hector, and kind of convinces him, and he kind of remembers the previous sort of stabbing kiss scene, and
Yeah.
so she's got him on board for the breakout
Mm.
to an extent. So I would assume that when they wake up, she'll make her butchers go and sort of snap him out of it, or let her
Yeah.
alter his code.
Yeah, you'd think so. She's definitely not putting his intelligence up as high as hers, though. She's
I
not
know.
going to risk that with
No,
anyone.
she wants to be the head
Yeah.
honcho. Yeah,
Yeah.
that definitely makes sense. Yeah, but let's talk about Dolores.
All right, let's do it.
It was funny though, because obviously we started with Bernard, right, and then it cut into William stuff, and we had the William stuff, and we had the bit of Maeve, the bit of Elsie sort of hunt in the middle. By the time it came back to Bernard, I was like, oh crap, yeah, this started the episode. It's been like 25-30 minutes since we've seen
Yep.
Bernard. But we came back, and so Dolores, after running away from being stabbed and whatever with William, she's running back towards the town that we even referred to gets referred to in this episode by some of the other hosts as the town that was buried in sand.
Hmm.
And as she's going there, her costume changes again, clearly showing kind of what we were kind of picking up on last week, that she's going through her memories, and this has jumped to a different time in her memory, and then it jumps again because because by the time she gets to the church, she's in the blue dress again.
Yeah, but you can see how confused she is, because obviously,
Yeah.
I'm not even sure she's aware of the different outfits, but the fact that she's not bleeding and cut open, she kind of stops and
She knows
acknowledges
she's
that.
Yeah. But she doesn't stop and think about it as much as the first couple of times. It's like,
No,
she's
just
almost
kind
getting
of-
used to it. Yeah.
She recognizes it's not right, but doesn't stop. She just carries on.
Huh, oh, that again. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she keeps going. And obviously, as she's getting to the town, and we're hearing, as this is all going on, we're hearing like narration from other scenes. We're hearing Ford and Bernard,
Yeah.
or Ford specifically talking about the past and training, and we get that same scene that we got from episode 3 or 4, where he explains Arnold and his history to him in his office, and we get all of this playing all over this. Is Dolores walks into the church, and there's people there, and you get the sense that as they're talking, that all these people in the church are malfunctioning because this was when Arnold tried to put his voice thing
Yeah,
into all
because
of
they're
them.
all like crying and distraught, and
Yeah.
it feels like they're, like I say, either suffering from this idea of consciousness, they physically can't cope with it, or perhaps they're stuck in memories and loops as well.
Maybe I took it as the first one because
Yeah.
that's what the narration was specifically talking about as
Yeah.
she was walking in. So it just made sense to me. But she goes into the confessional, and I was like, "Oh, like Arnold's going to be on the other side of the confessional." That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
at
same.
first.
It's
But-
way too obvious.
And then she just starts to lower. I'm like, "Oh crap!" She's going down to the meeting room. That's it. Because keep in mind, they hadn't revealed that Arnold was Bernard at this point, right? They hadn't revealed that. Like it was all sort of, you could tell it was going there. It was all interweaving together, and it was going to. But as when it was going down, I'm like, oh god, she's going down to the meeting room that we'd seen before when we said that was in the past, and that's where she's going. But not before some other interesting things. She goes to, so obviously this was the sort of the origin of the park, and this was where the initial sort of like control center was. So it's a lot more low tech, traditional corridors, not your fancy glass rooms that we've got in the main area. And as she's flashing back, she sees like young Anthony Hopkins get into a room and talking to Bernard. She also sees like a massacre, like
Yeah,
all these.
that one was like that's the first
That's the
one
first
that
one.
she sees.
Yeah, so that's before young Anthony Hopkins, and we get this sense of a massacre. I'm like, oh, was this part of the massacre in the town that she seemed to do?
This is the thing, though. Like, we don't know what order these are presented in. Like, we know they're different times, but we don't know what's when.
I think we have a kind of guess with this one though, based on what we already knew and what we then find out in a minute.
Yeah.
I feel
But
like
it's
this is. I feel like the massacre's after the young Anthony Hopkins part.
Right. Okay.
Because this is the incident. This is the big thing.
Yeah.
And when she goes down into the room, and we recognise the room, and then obviously it's when Arnold walks in and she says, "Hey Arnold," not "Hey Arnold," that's a TV show, but
Deep cut there.
I didn't mean it. It's just as I said that I was like, "Oh, that sounds stupid. I can't say that because that was a show." But as he sits down, and again you get these mannerisms are different, and he's talking to her, and like it's all just clicking, and it's clicking with the other scenes and the narration coming over the top.
And you get that moment where he asks her, "What's wrong with this?" And you just know it's like you're dead. You're saying it as she's working it out. It's so good.
And she says it, and then she drops the one bombshell that we hadn't really thought of. She said, "You're dead because I killed you."
Yeah.
And I was like, and it was like, you know what? We figured out so much going into this episode, but you still had one thing to hit us with at the end.
And so it's one of those things that I'm surprised we didn't just guess it. It's like,
honestly, it's just there's so much to guess that
it's almost a small detail in the grand scheme of things.
But the fact that she killed a human, that's a pretty big deal. Did Ford make her, or was this like her malfunctioning? Was this her dealing with the consciousness? Is a lot of this like guilt of this? What happens when she runs into Bernard now? Like, how's she going to react to that if she's this sentient about it?
Oh man,
all of it's so fascinating. And then she comes back up, and we appear to be in present day now.
We appear to be, yeah.
We appear to be, and this is like post excavation, and obviously remember that the man in black left the last scene with Charlotte saying, "I know where I need to go now," because he heard about the town that was buried in sand, which he did say, "I've been there before," which we've seen William go to in the last episode. And so presumably when he was there, it was buried in sand already.
Yeah, because we saw it as a wreck, and we saw it from Dolores' perspective as a memory as well, though. We saw it both last time.
Yeah, we saw it like 3 different ways last time. It wasn't clear maybe which one was which, but now we're getting the sense that it was buried in sand after the incident, because let's just bury it. Like, let's just
hide it.
Yeah. That was kind of the gist we're getting there.
Yeah.
And Man in Black opens the door and says, "Hey Dolores." And if this isn't like a reunion of these two, if he is William, which at this point is pretty,
I'd be massively shocked if it wasn't at this point.
Yeah. So, and that sets us, this is this. I don't know if this is technically the center of the maze or if this is just.
It feels more like this is the doorway.
Yeah, maybe, but they're together, so their conversation next week, I am so looking forward to at this point.
Oh no, it's going to be like the one we just had between Ford and Bernard, but like from a different perspective. It's going to be so good.
Do you know what? I was actually, because they'd revealed so much in this episode, I was legitimately just expecting Dolores to say William before it cut.
Me too.
I really was. So
yeah,
there you go. No, that was a euphoric experience going through this and just having them, and they were drawing it out so much with this, like, unraveling at the end, but it was jumping between like narration and Dolores and then Bernard and then Art,
and times just flashing.
Yeah, between each other, like everything was kind of coming together. It was
absolutely, utterly enthralling, though.
Yeah, I just had a big grin across my face the entire time.
Yeah,
and somehow it widened when they actually finally said, "Hey Arnold," my grin just widened just that bit wider.
Yeah, it's like, even though we know and we're certain, just saying it's good. Just do it.
It's good. Yeah. So, I mean, the finale, I'm guessing at this point, obviously we'll get William and Dolores, or Man in Black and Dolores, and sort of maybe some of this maze stuff, and maybe whatever. I'm assuming there'll be something big to leave on for the long wait for season 2. But I think yeah,
I'm maybe feeling now him understanding what the maze is after his conversation with Dolores is what it will be, and then season 2 will be exploring the concept of it itself.
Yeah. And I'm wondering how far does Maeve get next episode? Did they actually break out and like she's out for season 2 and that's like something we explore, or does it just not go anywhere?
Or does it fail entirely? Like, and something happens to her. What do they do with her?
Because Bernard even says in this episode, or mentions you've built a back door into all the coding. Like there's nothing to say that that Ford could just shut her down as soon as he realizes this is going. Well, there you go, back door, done.
In theory. Yeah, unless they got rid of that with her core code.
Possibly. I mean, maybe.
Like, because obviously they edited her core code, and maybe they clearly don't understand what they're doing well enough because they're not the coders, are they? They're just
That's true.
butchers. So maybe they accidentally deleted the back door.
Accidentally.
Aye, well, they wouldn't know, would they?
Yeah, true. But no, that was. I'm at a loss for words really at this point. This was a very fitting not conclusion because the conclusion is next week, but
This gave us all these answers that we've been waiting for so long, and it was just so satisfying to finally get them. Even though they were what we thought they were, it's so good to get them.
well, I think the reason why that's not disappointing is because they were all good answers. Like we were all theorizing about them because they were the exciting ones, because they were interesting, because they added layers to what was going on, because it made characters deeper. So
Yeah. And also, nothing came out of the blue. Like, there was no shock for the sake of shock. Everything was seeded from what we'd had.
yeah, so all that's very good. So what we get to do with the final now is we get to play with all these ideas that they've revealed. Like they get to explore them a little bit, not completely. A lot of that will be season 2, I have no doubt, but they get to explore them enough to give us some kind of conclusion. So, no, looking forward to the finale. So, so apologies if we missed anything. There was so much so quickly at certain points in that episode. But let us know what you thought in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. I assume we're all looking forward to the finale. So, wild theories and speculation by all means. But I'm expecting to wherever we end up in the final 5 minutes of the finale, whatever that sets up for season 2. I'm expecting that to be something that I couldn't possibly.
Yeah, that's
predict.
the thing. It's like, I think we can predict like maybe the first half of this episode coming up, based on what we got at the end here. But I fully expect this to be left in a place where we wouldn't have called at all.
Because it's like what Man in Black and Dolores like learn from their conversation, or what Man in Black discovers about the maze next week. I mean, that could completely alter everything.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like there's too much information that the characters need to learn before we can figure out what trajectory they're going to go on.
That's Westworld, guys. We'll be back next week for the finale. It's been a hell of a ride. Thanks. We'll see you next time.